Imagine standing on a cracked, sunburnt plain in Africa 70,000 years ago. The wind carries dust instead of rain. Your children haven't eaten in 2 days. The waterhole your family has used for generations is nothing but dried mud and cracked earth. You have two choices: stay here and watch everyone you love slowly starve, or pick up everything you own, which isn't much, and walk into land no human has ever set foot on. No map, no compass, no idea what's waiting on the other side of that horizon. Maybe more desert, maybe monsters, maybe death. You walk anyway. That single decision, made by a small, desperate group of humans, is the reason you exist today. It's the reason there are people in New York, in Tokyo, in London, in the Amazon rainforest, and on the frozen tundra of Siberia. Every single human being alive right now is the descendant of people who kept walking when it would have been so much easier to just stop. So, what actually happened out there? What pushed our ancestors to cross entire continents on foot, paddle into oceans they couldn't see across, and survive in some of the most brutal environments on Earth, all without a single modern tool? This is the story of the greatest journey in human history. And it's a story written in your own DNA right now. Around 300,000 years ago, in the heart of Africa, something extraordinary happened. A new kind of creature emerged, one with a bigger brain, sharper tools, and something no animal before it had ever fully possessed: imagination. Homo sapiens had arrived. For over 200,000 years, these early humans stayed close to home, and it was only in the last stretch of that time, as the world crept toward roughly 70,000 years ago, that everything began to change. Until then, Africa was rich. It had rivers, grasslands, and herds of animals stretching to the horizon. Why would anyone leave paradise? But paradise has a dark side. Populations grew. Families became clans, clans became communities. And slowly, the very land that gave them life began to feel smaller. Every good hunting ground already had someone standing on it. Every fertile riverbank was already claimed. Then came something even more terrifying than crowding. The sky itself turned against them. Picture this: for years, the rains simply stopped coming. Not for one bad season, for decades. This is the brutal reality of an ice age. As glaciers crept across the far north, they pulled moisture out of the entire planet's atmosphere. Africa, thousands of miles from any ice, still felt the punishment. Lakes shrank into puddles. Grasslands turned to dust. Forests became skeletons of dead trees. Imagine watching the place your grandparents were born in, the place your ancestors are buried in, slowly transform into a wasteland in front of your eyes. Animals you depended on for meat, skin, and bone either died off or fled toward the horizon in search of water. This wasn't a slow, comfortable decision to explore the world. This was a matter of watching your children's ribs start to show and realizing that staying meant dying. Somewhere out there, past the dry hills, there had to be water. There had to be life. And so, in small, desperate bands, people started walking away from everything they had ever known, not for adventure, but for survival. Little did they know, this walk would never truly end. It would be picked up by their children and their children's children for thousands of generations until it stretched across the entire face of the earth. Here's something most people don't realize: ancient humans weren't wandering aimlessly. They were following something: herds. Enormous, thundering herds of mammoths, wild bison, and antelope that moved across the land like living rivers. Now, picture this from the animals' point of view. They too were fleeing the same drought, the same dying grasslands. So they moved toward greener land, sometimes hundreds of miles away. And for early humans, these animals weren't just food, they were survival itself. Meat to eat, hide for clothing and shelter, bone for tools and weapons. Losing the herd meant losing everything, so they followed. Not for one trip, but forever. A herd moves 50 miles this season, the tribe moves with it. Next season, another 80 miles. The tribe moves again. No single person ever set out saying, "I'm going to walk 3,000 miles." Each family just followed the animals a little farther than their parents had. Generation after generation, without anyone realizing it, this slow chase carried entire populations across deserts, over mountain ranges, and into completely new worlds. It's almost hypnotic to think about. Nobody was trying to conquer the planet. They were just trying to eat dinner. And in doing so, they accidentally conquered the planet anyway. But this journey was no peaceful stroll. Every mile forward came with a price. There was the Sahara, a merciless sea of sand where the sun could kill a person in hours without water. There was Siberia, where winter temperatures dropped so low that exposed skin could freeze in minutes. There were massive predators, cave lions, saber-toothed cats, giant hyenas, creatures that saw humans not as the top of the food chain, but as a meal. And there was something even more invisible and terrifying: disease. Every new environment carried germs the human immune system had never encountered. An unknown insect bite, a strange water source, a new type of meat. Any of these could kill a person just as surely as a lion could, yet they kept going. They learned to control fire, turning it into a weapon against both the cold and the predators lurking in the dark. They sewed together animal hides into the very first clothing, allowing them to survive climates that would have killed them just years earlier. They shaped stone and bone into spears, blades, and needles. Every single obstacle nature threw at them, they answered with ingenuity. This wasn't just survival, this was the birth of human innovation, forged directly out of desperation. Now, here's where the story gets almost unbelievable. During the Ice Age, so much of the planet's water was frozen into glaciers that sea levels dropped dramatically, by more than 300 feet in some places. Land that is underwater today was completely dry back then. One of these hidden pathways connected Siberia to Alaska, a strip of land we now call the Bering Land Bridge. Today, it's a freezing, storm-battered stretch of ocean called the Bering Strait. But 20,000 years ago, a person could have walked from Asia into North America without ever getting their feet wet. And that's exactly what happened. Small bands of hunters crossed this frozen land bridge, chasing herds of mammoth and bison, completely unaware they were the very first humans to ever set foot on an entirely new continent. But even more shocking is what happened tens of thousands of years earlier in Australia. To get there, humans had no land bridge to walk across. They faced open ocean, with no visible shore on the other side. And yet, around 65,000 years ago, they built rafts or primitive boats and paddled into water with absolutely no guarantee that land existed on the other side. Think about the sheer nerve that took. No compass, no knowledge of what was out there, just raw courage, and it worked. Survival explains a lot of this journey, but not all of it. Scientists believe there's something deeper buried in human nature, an almost irresistible pull toward the unknown. Call it curiosity, call it restlessness. Somewhere inside every human brain is a voice that whispers, "What's over that hill? What's across that water?" That same voice pushed explorers to climb Mount Everest, despite the risk of death. It pushed astronauts to strap themselves onto rockets and blast into space. It's the reason we've sent robots to Mars and probes to the edge of our solar system. We are, at our core, a species that cannot stand not knowing what's on the other side. Our ancestors felt that exact same pull. Yes, hunger and drought forced their first steps. But somewhere along that endless journey, something shifted. It stopped being just about survival. It became about discovery, about standing on a ridge, looking out over land no human eye had ever seen, and feeling something electric run through your body. That feeling never left us. It's the same feeling you get scrolling through photos of a place you've never visited, quietly thinking, "I want to go there." That spark is 70,000 years old, and it still burns in every single one of us today. So how do we actually know any of this really happened? The answer is hiding inside your own cells, right now. Scientists studied DNA from populations all across the globe, comparing mitochondrial DNA and Y chromosome markers from Europe, Asia, Australia, and the Americas. What they discovered was staggering. Every single human population on Earth can trace its genetic roots back to Africa. And the farther a population lives from Africa today, the less genetic diversity it carries. A fingerprint left behind by small founding groups who broke away and never came back. Archaeologists back this up with physical proof. Ancient tools, campfire remains, and fossilized bones scattered across the globe, each one carbon dated to reveal exactly when humans arrived in that region. Piece by piece, the evidence lines up into one undeniable timeline. Africa around 300,000 years ago, the Middle East and Asia by 70,000 years ago, Europe by 45,000 years ago, Australia by 65,000 years ago, and finally, crossing into the Americas by roughly 15,000 to 20,000 years ago. It took thousands of generations. Nobody who started that first walk out of Africa ever saw where it would end. They will never know that their descendants would end up on every single continent on Earth. But their courage is the reason you're here, watching this video, right now, carrying their DNA, their resilience, and that same ancient hunger to know what lies beyond. So the next time you feel too tired to take the stairs, remember this. Somewhere in your blood is the memory of ancestors who crossed deserts on foot, paddled into oceans with no idea what was on the other side, and survived ice ages that would kill most of us in a single night. They didn't do it because it was easy. They did it because stopping meant dying, and because something inside them refused to stop wondering what was over the next hill. That same fire is still burning in you. If this story gave you chills, hit like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments which part of this journey shocked you the most. And if you want the next chapter of human history, I've got you covered. Just stick around.